Gentlemen and female gentlemen, welcome one and all to the Elden Ring lore dive that everyone's been waiting for. Ever since my last lore dive, people have been tormenting me to dive into the lore of Elden Ring's slumbering demigod, specifically talking about Miquella, the guy, the Unalloyed, the sleeper, Miquella the kind, Kindness Miquella, that guy, the guy that everyone's been jabbering about ever since the DLC dropped. Well, I've played Elden Ring. I've played the DLC. I know nothing about Miquella's lore. I have some guesses and speculations, but I cannot understand for the life of me Elden Ring lore through the actual play, which is why we're doing it here. As you know, I, Lord Nuxanor, will consume all lore, okay? We're diving into Warhammer, Star Wars, Elden Ring. Nothing is safe. Future hits are going to be Bloodborne and Metroid. Omori as well. We are going to go crazy. We're going to go hard. Subscribe! All right, let's see what this Miquella lore is all about. I have a really hot take when it comes to femboy god lore.
Miquella is
love
many
it.
things. A fundamentalist.
A femboy.
The Unalloyed.
Twink.
Creator of the Haligtree.
Kindly Miquella.
Lord of the Eclipse. Saint
I'm running out of... I'm running out of terms.
Trina of the
Lord of the Eclipse? Saint Trina? Saint Trina's Miquella? Alright.
Cradle Song, and not just a demigod,
But
but
an
a
Imperium.
fearsome Imperium.
That's it.
Who has been captured,
Oh,
but
yeah.
is unresponsive.
Captured. Lamau! I have a really hot take when it comes to Miquella. I think Miquella is, his curse is eternal youth, right? So my incredibly hot take, and I'm going to see if I could find evidence to something like this, is the idea that Miquella, he wants a kind world. Everyone else wants a world of order, a world of chaos, a world of blood, a world of fucking rot, a world of incest. Everyone has their own dreams. My incredibly hot take is that, so I think Miquella wants a world of kindness. That's his goal, right? As it seems like from the DLC. I think since Miquella is trapped in the child's body, trapped in the ability that he can't age, he's brilliant, he's kind, he wants a world of kindness, but he is immature and he is naive. And I think that he doesn't understand the cruelty that he does, what he did to Mohg, what he did to Radagon, what he did to his own sister Malenia in order to have his goal go forth. I think that, honestly, he might steal your heart, but I think that, pure kindness is not a world that anyone wants to live in either.
For now. And after watching this video, I think you'll agree that Miquella is a topic that almost has to be explored further in some upcoming DLC. For how could they not be? Their character is...
Pre-watched? Pre-watched!
surely too major, too foreshadowed, and too intriguing to just ignore.
Yep.
So- Let's learn everything that there is to know.
All right, let's do it, baby. Born Afflicted. All the Miquella lore! Y'all didn't know how excited I was ready for this. Oh my glab! Oh my glab! When I saw Radagon at the end of the DLC, I felt a certain way. You know, I felt really sus. All right, Born
For
Afflicted.
starters, Miquella is the demigod child
A
of
femboy and fembussy.
Queen Marika and King Consort Radagon,
Guy's dead.
who, as I'm sure you're well aware at this point, are the same being. You can learn more about the timeline of events from my other videos, but basically, after Radagon left
We've already covered this extensively. As someone that is consuming all lore, I have already gone through this lore and told you my opinion. I think that they are the same being, but when they are an avatar of order versus an avatar of causality versus an avatar of regression, they take different forms. I think names bear incredible power in the world of Elden Ring, and the way people are defined as changes who they actually are. Star Scourge Radagon and Radagon, Miquella's consort, are not the same. Hot take.
Renala, the
Now, how did they get pregnant? Well, I don't know. Why don't you go fuck yourself?
Academy told Radagon to go fuck himself.
God, I am never gonna fucking shit. I'm trying so hard to fucking help me do that. All right, well, anyway, we move on. Fuck.
But Radagon took that literally and he sired a third set of demigod children all on his own.
Wait, Nani? Is it not publicly known? This is a theory, right? No, this ain't.
Who were the twins Miquella and Malenia. These children appear to be represented by the butterfly items in the game, and the nascent butterfly appears to represent Miquella. Its description elaborates on his state of eternal childhood, stating that it appears...
State of eternal childhood, holy shit. Vosh, are you hearing this? I found you a new best character!
...is as if it's just emerged from its cocoon for its entire life. Indeed, the word nascent means that something is just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. And that nascence is eternal for Miquella, and I think that this eternal nascence is incredibly important for his character. For Miquella and Malenia both seem to occupy different sides of the life and death cycle.
Yeah, Malenia's rotting, right? Malenia is, I guess, aging, and Miquella's eternally young. It's really interesting. I really like that concept. It's like Miquella's worshipping Nurgle and Malenia's worshipping fucking... No, the other way around. Miquella's worshipping Tzeentch and Malenia's worshipping Nurgle. And then they're just in this weird state where each of them are in a different style of either not aging or just aging really fucking fast. I don't know. I really like Malenia. The more we actually cover when it comes to lore, the more I just feel bad for Malenia. The strongest Souls boss of all time. One of the hardest bosses in gaming history. And unironically, Malenia is like such a tragic character. We still don't know why she fought Radagon though, right? I think that she fought Radagon in some way to protect her brother. I think Miquella somehow managed to get that whole Malenia versus Radagon fight to work out. He manipulated it so that Radagon could become his consort in the Shadow Realm. That's my game theory right now, and I really think that there's a lot of potential truth to it, because I think that he's gonna be like, oh shit, let's make a kind world. Yeah, my sister's gonna rot like fucking shit. Yeah, we're gonna torture Radagon and force him into a state of melting. Dude, Malenia. It's like every time I feel bad for her, and then she does her waterfowl dance and just instant regret. I feel nothing for her.
Say that Miquella represents life and Malenia represents death. Rather, it seems like both land somewhere in the middle of each process.
Would you go as far as they lands between? Oh! Cooked.
Malenia is constantly resisting her scarlet rot and is in this perpetual state of dying, and Miquella is in this constant...
God, I wish that was me. In a perpetual state of dying is what I meant.
...state of nascence. He is newly born and showing an abundance of life and burgeoning potential. Special thanks to Quailag for making this clear to me. So Miquella is nascent, but he's also abundant, and I think that's another extremely key word for him. For example, there's this cut weapon called the Abundance and Decay Twin Blade.
I don't even fucking have that weapon. Where did that come from?
Which symbolizes the twins and suggests that the twins were born from an inseparable fate and hold the runes of both abundance and decay between them. Not to mention, the word abundance is also literally spoken by Miquella in his cut content.
What? Oh, cut content. Because I was like, Miquella didn't even speak in the game. But okay, cut content. No, Miquella is definitely an interesting character. Because ultimately, when you look at all these different demigods, they're each fighting for some sort of ideal. And Miquella really just seems like a being of kindness. He created the Haligtree as a place for people to escape to. He created a place in the Shadow Realm to usher some age of kindness. But ultimately, it's through selfishness that he's letting all these people just suffer, die, and rot, literally, so he could have this kind world. Bro is actually just less gay Griffith.
And thanks to a very recent discovery by Sekiro Dubi, we know this cut dialogue I'm about to voice is Miquella speaking. And here, he appears to be leading you
Alright.
towards a unique ending for the game, and he talks about his ability to make life flourish, stating, "This is for thee, mine abundance, my drop of dew. Quench thy thirst throughout thy frame, blossom and burgeon, time and again, grow larger, stronger, until the day cometh, when thou canst share in my dream. Elden Ring, O Elden Ring, beget order most elegant from my tender reverie." And before I go on, I do...
Bro, it's so interesting to think about how an abundance of kindness is also just fucked up. Like, I love how every single order in Elden Ring is not the best ending. There is no happy ending to Elden Ring. Every single one is just ushering in either an age where you don't know what's going to be going on, or you know for a fact it's going to be pretty fucked up for some people. Like, Elden Ring is not about finding that perfect balance. It's about trying to find the best of all those extreme evils. I think that's what a lot of life is, too, to be honest. Yo, everyone's got lots of extreme choices. I don't know. You just have to find the least terrible of them.
That Miquella talking about his abundance is cut content, and you shouldn't really take it as canon, but I think it does give us a deeper look at not only the powers that Miquella might have had, but also the world that he could create. He goes on to say, "If thou covetest the throne, impress my vision upon thine heart. In the new world of thy making, all things will flourish, whether graceful or malign."
See, but, like, is that a good thing? All things will flourish, whether graceful or malign? Is that, like, good? It's like, I don't care if you are a murderer rapist. You will have a place in my hearth and a chair at my table. Well, I fucking care! That's not good either! God! It's like you have these holier-than-thou people like, I am a man of God, and therefore, I forgive you of all thy sins. And it's like, yeah, but that guy's a pedophile. But I forgive him anyway. I don't know, man.
And I love that final line, "All things will flourish, whether graceful or malign," because Miquella isn't enforcing any real notions of good or evil here. Instead, in the new world of his making, he simply wants all things to flourish, and...
Yeah, but that is a kindness that is also torturous at the same way, you know? God. Like, it's such a really interesting idea. I love the Miquella mentality of wanting a world of kindness, but if you're so kind to the point that you may be a murderer rapist, but I will let you roam these streets because you are malign, but I will not stand in your way of living. Bro, that is how to make a fucked up society 101, okay? As much as I love chaos, having laws are pretty base too. You gotta have a blend. And him living in a world of abundance of kindness and shit, it's just chaos with extra steps. I don't know. You give an abundance of kindness for malign people, and all the kind people are gonna really have a rough time of it. Like an actual paradox of tolerance. But it fits so well in my idea that every one of these philosophies, when taken to an extreme, does not work. It needs that blend.
I feel like that is a very unique viewpoint for a character in a Souls game. Not to mention, Miquella is certainly one of the...
I love how he's like, that's a unique character, bro. It's a unique standpoint for a character in a Souls game. You see, all the other Souls characters are massive racists, and he is not. Very unique, very unique.
Few beings that is capable of creating this new world. That's because he is an Empyrean. He is one of the very few who were candidates chosen by the Two Fingers to succeed Queen Marika and become a god, to usher in a new age. Now, we could go into an entire debate about why the twins are valid Empyreans and why they were born afflicted, but honestly, that could almost be an entire video of its own, so for now I'll just give the simple answer, which is that these twins were probably valid Empyreans because they have singular parentage from a god, but that this singular parentage was probably also responsible for their afflictions as well.
How does this make any sense? Isn't Ronnie an Empyrean? And Ronnie's mom is Renala. So how does that make any sense? What? I feel like I'm missing something like incredibly basic here. Nani?
due to the almost incestual implications of such.
It's not incestual if you fuck yourself, okay? I have gone through the stats, I've gone through the numbers, I've asked multiple priests and rabbis, and incest is not if you fuck yourself, okay? We could cross that up. Chat, do not worry.
Such a thing. Why do I feel like it was George R.R. Martin that wrote this?
Ah! True. I love how George R.R. Martin is like, he is the ultimate cop-out, you know? Why are there so many incests? And it's like, oh, George R.R. Martin. But why are there dragons everywhere? George R.R. Martin. Ah, I see. It's like he's the answer to all the uncomfortable parts of Elden Ring are just attributed to him. He was just hired to be the ultimate scapegoat. It's like, wow, Miyazaki, pretty fucked up that you have Mohg kidnapping his half-brother to fuck his hand. And then it's like, ah, yes, that was my friend, my friend George R.R. Martin.
Anyway, let's move into the early childhood years of Miquella's eternal childhood. Miquella's early years were clearly quite inspired by their father, Radagon, who fostered a bit of a fun-
Wait, Miquella doesn't have red hair. Hold on, Miquella's the only son, the only kid of Radagon without red hair. Rykard, Renala, Ranni, Malenia, they all have red hair. The only one that doesn't is Miquella. That's weird.
Fundamentalist streak in his prodigal son, and Miquella would go on to invent fundamentalist incantations of his own, dubbed Discus of Light and Triple Rings of Light, which he gave as gifts to his father. These gifts reveal that Radagon and Miquella...
The gift I give to my father? Hey Dad, I answered your emails about getting your luggage lost from Lufthansa. You're welcome. Happy Father's Day. Miquella's gift? Literal fucking Destructo discs.
Had a good relationship, and Radagon must have been proud of his son because these two spells do represent those two key fundamentals of the Golden Order, namely that there is a law of causality, which is a branching cause and effect that goes outwards.
In my opinion, that's the representation of Marika.
But also that there is a law of regression, that all things yearn eternally to converge.
My opinion is that is the epitome of Radagon. See, my headcanon as to why Malenia and Miquella were born afflicted is because here you had the weird self-cest of Marika and Radagon, right? These two ideas of causality and regression are the two main forces of order in the world of Elden Ring. So the children, these twin children that came from literally these two people, one of them is afflicted by regression, i.e., Miquella, who cannot age, and the other one is afflicted by causality, aka Malenia, someone literally rotting away. I don't know. Seems like that makes sense to me.
Once again, and in gratitude, Radagon countered with a gift of his own, showing Miquella Radagon's Rings of Light. These incantations would go on to become core fundamentalist spells as...
They're pretty shitty, though. Like, you'd think that the spell made by Radagon could actually kill some enemies, but no, not these, not these.
They are true to those two concepts that form the basis of the Golden Order. But there is another aspect of Golden Order fundamentalism, and that is the persecution of those who live in death.
Bro, it's order, it's justice. Anything that doesn't fit the rigid ideals of this order are persecuted. Like the misbegotten, like some of the Crucible Knights. Guys, order is cursed too. Because if you don't fall within the bounds of their order, they will fuck you in the asshole. This is all the Albinarics that are getting literally persecuted throughout the lands between.
Hunters of these undead would attempt to stamp them out with spells such as Order's Blade and Litany of Proper Death, which deal additional damage against those who live in death and prevent them from resurrecting. To recap, those who live in death exist because of Godwyn the Golden, who was one of the early sons of Marika and Godfrey.
The goat somehow died.
Who was eventually killed with a fragment of the Rune of Death, and then the Rune of Death would eventually spread its undeath throughout the lands between.
And now there are just these random dead trees with like sunken, dried out eyeballs, and basically it's pretty hot. What I'm trying to say is...
Via Deathroot. And there is an entire debate that
Dude, if you're into necrophilia, you can just stick your dick in a tree. Like, this is the dream for some people.
we could have here about whether the persecution of those who live in death is even true to the core principles of fundamentalism. Goldmask certainly doesn't seem to think
God, I love Gold Mask. Dude, does he have a Gold Mask lore dive? This guy's whack job.
so. In fact, according to the Order healing spell, Goldmask laments the hunters of those who live in death, deeming them to be fanatics who wanted nothing more than an absolute evil to contend with. And the reason I bring up this debate at all is because you could argue that Miquella was on the side of these fanatic hunters, as he created multiple weapons that were capable of effectively slaying those who live in death.
That's interesting. I never really looked at it in that way exactly. I just thought he kind of gave the spell to his dad because he knew it's something his dad would like. But see, I think this is classic Miquella false kindness. He tries to be kind, and he's like, I'm gonna create this spell because my daddy's gonna love it. I'm gonna be so kind, and I'm gonna give him a fucking spell because I'm kind. Now, this spell happens to be fantastic at, exterminating a lesser race. Okay, it's a good spell for that shit, but it's okay, because he did it because of kindness. He gave it to his dad. Don't worry, guys, don't worry. I feel like that's classic Miquella, not willing to understand the consequences to his actions. He'll think of something kind, and he'll be too naive to actually see it in a way that it is good for all parties. In his mind, getting Radagon as his consort is kindness. However, in reality, what he ended up doing was afflicting his sister, Radagon, and the land of Caelid into a full-ass fucking ass-shitting, cock-gobbling rot storm. It's awful. Awful.
For example, this is Golden Epitaph, and it is a sword that was made to commemorate the death
I did not notice the creepy T-posing skeleton on this sword. Oh my god.
of Godwyn the Golden, first of the demigods
How
to
do you know that's Godwyn the Golden? How fuck do you know that's Godwyn the Golden?
die.
He's gonna pull up the fucking item description. A picture of Godwyn the Golden.
It is infused with the humble
Oh
prayer
my,
of a young
yeah, of
boy
course,
and
of
reads,
course!
"O brother, Lord brother, please die a
damn
true
it.
death." So this weapon is an effective tool of killing those who live in death
That's
permanently,
nice.
and
That's nice. You just stab them in the dick and they die.
clearly the young boy who created it was Miquella.
Miquella.
We can infer this because the sigil that appears when you use this blade's skill is the Haligtree sigil, and once activated, this ability, called Last Rites, imbues the sword with a holy power that prevents those who live in death from reviving. But
Rip.
beyond this being a potential tool to slay those who live in death, is that this weapon points towards an early kinship between Miquella and
That's true. He was buddies with Godwyn. Poor Godwyn. I can't get over how tragic it is that Godwyn became this.
Godwyn, a relationship that might have made it all the more painful when Godwyn's soul would perish, but his body would remain, spawning Deathroot. This is interesting, as it gives Miquella a legitimate emotional grievance against those who live in death. And
Not really an emotional grievance as much as just like it's a sore point for him. Like, they remind him that Godwyn's dead. It's not their fault.
it's almost a bit hypocritical, I think, for what I believe to be Miquella's character, as we previously established that he might have been this character who wants all life to flourish,
Yeah.
but I guess that principle might not extend to those who live in death.
Well, maybe they're not alive. Maybe he's like, I will be kind to all life. And then the skeleton is like, yay! And he's like, not you, fucker.
This sword might not be the only representation of Miquella's relationship with Godwyn. That relationship is potentially strengthened even more when we consider this statue found in Elfale before the Haligtree.
How the fuck did he see this statue? There's a billion of these statues. How on earth did he do that? How did he be like, oh yeah, this one statue is different than all the other statues that look almost identical?
It depicts a larger figure who is clearly embracing the two Empyrean twins,
Oh
Miquella
my
and
God.
Malenia, but then who is this larger
You're gonna say that's Godwyn? No. No, I would have said it's Radagon. You're gonna say this is Godwyn?
figure? It could be their parent, Marika or Radagon, but then it doesn't have their signature hair braid, and instead it has this long, wavy hair.
Dude, I have never in my life considered staring at these statues and trying to figure out who they are. That's insane to me, that there's so much detail in this game.
What's more, the statue asset is flat-chested, which appears to rule...
Alright, dude. Wow. Alright, dude. Okay. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see you.
out Marika, at least. And after reading a good amount of debate online about this, I think it's a fair conclusion to say that this statue represents Godwyn, who himself does seem to have long, wavy hair. And this statue being enshrined here really tells a story. It's a story of two gifted...
No, he said it's a man! I was almost there. He punches her in the chest and is like, I tested and you don't have boobs. That was it. You know, fuck it. Whatever. You get the idea.
But afflicted siblings who were supported by their older brother. But then they were left alone.
Technically, half-brother, okay, alright? I don't want you to make Mohg sound any sussier than he actually is.
As their older brother would become the first demigod to die. And this isn't the only statue in this location. Far more prominent in the area are these statues, which depict two siblings left alone.
Yeah, that's Malenia and Miquella. Malenia missing the arm and Miquella who can't age.
After their brother died.
After their brother died?! Vati video will unironically show you two statues and be like, you see this statue has 3 people, these statues have 2 people? Well, you can see in the first statue, this is this person, and this person is sappy, and now in the second statue, he's not there. It's because it is after his death. They are suffering with the loss, and just show me 2 fucking statues. God. And you know, he's probably right. That's the crazy part.
There was one sibling, Miquella, who was forced to remain as a young child, and another who grew up in great pain, eventually losing vision and limbs to rot and decay. These statues are everywhere in the Haligtree, and they tell that sorrowful story. They are an early sign of Miquella's extreme empathy for his sister, and they foreshadow his desperate attempts to give her relief from her terrifying condition. And so the young Miquella abandoned fundamentalism, for it could do nothing to treat Malenia's accursed rot.
Damn, it's like he gave his whole life to treating Malenia's rot. I don't know. I wonder if it's a little sussier than that.
Was the beginning of Unalloyed Gold.
Oh.
So, what is unalloyed gold?
It's a gold that's not made of many different metals.
Well, an alloy is something that's created when you combine metals, usually because you want to create a stronger compound at the expense of its purity. So,
some idiot in the comments is gonna be like pre-watched. You know that? Some idiot is just gonna be like, I can't believe he pre-watched what alloyed means.
If we were to view Marika's Golden Order as if it were a metal, which I think is something that the lore wants you to do.
I like that. That's true. There's lots of metals.
Considering the implications of the tarnished and everything like that.
Tarnished! Oh my fucking god, I never even thought of that. Wait, he's so right. He's so right. Marika's tits. That's canon, by the way. Well, we're tarnished. Literally tarnished metal. That's way too obvious. Why the fuck did I not think of that?
Then Marika's Golden Order would definitely be an alloyed metal. Just think of all the foreign powers that it's absorbed in the interest of strength. For example, Godfrey and his Crucible Knights were enlisted to devastate Marika's enemies. The ancient dragons were won over and eventually became a part of Laendel's forces. Even the House of the Erd Tree and the Moon were married at one point.
True.
Literally. After all, as Muriel puts it, all things can be conjoined under the Golden Order, so I think Marika was...
There's so much realness there, because the idea of order being a combination of many different ideals, that is order. I don't know. I feel like Elden Ring is really ultimately a tragic Greek... It's a Greek tragedy. It's a story of so many different ideals that none of them can actually survive on their own. And ultimately, you need to alloy a whole lot of them together in order to lead a proper life. But unfortunately, these characters are trapped on a merry-go-round that's just a giant chessboard pawns to be moved by these outer gods, simply trying to impose their order on the world. And these characters have no choice but to fucking play their game. It is a tragic ideal, but it's also beautiful at the same time. It goes to show you that you can't have a world of pure order, a world of pure chaos, or a world of entropy. None of these ideas can actually last. None of them can exist. And a kind world can't either. I really like the idea that the Elden Ring DLC is introducing an entire new idealism and also showing you why there is flaw in that as well.
Definitely open to fusing factions and ideologies to an extent, as long as it made her treasured Golden Order alloy stronger. So hopefully now you understand what I mean when I say that Miquella's gold is unalloyed, it is pure, it is untainted, and it is perhaps a singular ideology.
Yep, kindness, pure, unadulterated kindness. And it's fucked up in its own way.
And if you subscribe to the idea that the cut content is still representative of Miquella, then I would say that his ideology is what I had Miquella quote earlier, that in his new world, all things should be allowed to flourish, whether graceful
or malign.
I
can't believe that I've pre-watched this.
And that is his pure ideology. Though, of course, that is my speculation based on cut content as well. So
I like the speculation. That makes a lot of sense. It fits so well with his game plan. God, it's really cool. It's really cool to see how all the demigods are basically a completely different aspect of order. And all of them are fucked up. Which is why I have no choice but to murder every single one of them and become God. I love a good game that lets you just become God at the end. It's pretty based.
Please keep that in mind. But Miquella's unalloyed gold couldn't have just been this metaphysical concept of pure ideology. It was a physical material as well. For example, this is an unalloyed gold water lily, said to have been beloved by Miquella. This is a bewitching branch, blessed with an incantation of unalloyed gold. Unalloyed gold decorated the armor and shields of his soldiers.
I love every single weapon design in this game. It's so sick.
It was inserted into their weapons, and...
Guys, anything could be a dildo if you're brave enough.
Most importantly, perhaps, it was forged into a set of armor for his sister, Malenia. Because...
Dude, he made separate toes. That's crazy.
Remember, the whole reason Miquella embraced unalloyed gold in the first place, it seems, was because he thought that it could treat his sister's accursed rot, while fundamentalism could not. And he was right, for Malenia's scarlet rot...
It did halt it to some extent, but I do think that after seeing what happens in the DLC, more or less, I think Miquella wanted Malenia to fight Radagon the way that she did in order for Radagon's soul to fucking get banished to the Shadow Realm so he can use Radagon as his consort. And he sacrificed Malenia to the goddess of rot in order to achieve that goal because ultimately all he wants is kindness here. So now he had to make up the unalloyed gold for Malenia because, well, now we have to be kind to you. After he put her in that position. God. I really think that this goes to show you a lot about who Miquella actually is. And you could reinterpret so many of the different things that actually happen in Elden Ring through these eyes. Like, if I would be watching this before the DLC, I would think of Miquella as, like, ultimate kindness. Truly an Empyrean worthy of becoming a god. Like, a kind person that only cared about Malenia, that only cared about all the people he did, that created the Haligtree as a safe refuge for people. But actually, after you see how he wants to implement his kindness ideology, it really taints things. He wants all things to flourish, and that just might include the rot. Like, there's something so naive about the idea of just kindness for everyone. And the DLC really accentuated that. I think that the DLC was a masterclass. And I think even Vtube did not expect Radagon to show up as the final boss. Okay? I would love him to say in some sort of video, Vtube, lore whisperer extraordinaire, did not at all predict Radagon showing up at the end of the DLC. please.
Is no mere disease. It's literally the divine essence of an outer god, and Malenia is its vessel that will one day bloom into a true goddess. But unalloyed gold is one of the few materials in...
Oh my fucking god. Could it be that Miquella is trying to use the unalloyed gold to stop the rot goddess from taking over because he is trying to ascend to become the new god of the lands between? Is it because the Order of Rot? Is it because the Order of Rot is challenging his Order of Kindness? Maybe it's not even because of Malenia at all. I don't know, man. Suddenly everything gets thrown into question. God, childish idealism is just so difficult to understand.
In the game that can ward away such meddling of the outer gods.
These meddling kids! Alright, never mind.
Another example are the mirror helms, like the one that EG wears, which literally reflects the influence of the outer gods. And personally, I think the reason that unalloyed gold inhibits the meddling of the outer gods is because it is a pure metal and potentially a pure ideology. But if that's not enough reason for you, then Quelaag actually has a great video where she breaks down potential reasons at a chemical level. But at any...
Dude, I fucking love how crazy the Elden Ring community is. It's like, I have summoned 4 physicists, 2 alchemists, and a theoretical astroscientist to come together to explain to me why an eldritch god might be afraid of magnets. Alright, guys, what do we have?
At any rate, reasons...
You need fucking Dream to start running his astrophysicist Minecraft luck to start explaining to you how elder gods can't fucking stand up to pure gold.
Aside, Miquella crafted needles of unalloyed gold, which could be inserted into the tortured flesh of one afflicted by rot to alleviate their suffering and forestall the effects of the rot. And true to the needle's descriptions, the outer god of rot isn't the only one affected by this. Our character actually uses the final version of this unalloyed gold needle to subdue the outer god of frenzy. Which...
Wait, really? You could do that in the game?
Is something you might want if you decided to be a terrible person and burn down the world. Anyway.
Honestly, I feel like you're judging me right now, and I don't like to feel judged, okay? I let chaos take the world because it was inevitable anyway, and because I had enough of paying taxes, okay? I don't deserve, as a dual citizen of Canada and America, I should not be paying taxes in 2 countries. This is a crime against civil rights. Chaos W, government L, get out of here, okay? I stand by my not wanting to pay taxes. Of course, I pay taxes, if you're listening, IRS, but I don't want to.
When we first find Miquella's needle, it's been broken, snapped in half, and picked up by a commander at the very center of the Scarlet Swamp. But once this...
Are you gonna make fun of me if I told you that this guy, Commander O'Neill, was the first boss I bumped into after the Tree Sentinel? On my first ever playthrough of Elden Ring? I'm telling you, I have an actual problem with playing video games. I go paths that I should not go every single time. The first major boss that I fought in the DLC is Bale the Dread. I just literally beelined it to the dragon cave and walked all the way up the mountain and got my ass fucking stretched by that dragon. And in Elden Ring, my first ever playthrough, I don't know how! I just beelined it straight to the fucking teleporting treasure chest. You open the treasure chest, it pulls you out into this little cave. You walk out of the cave and boom, you fight Commander O'Neill. Bro literally teleported me to the heart of Brazil in the very beginning. Like, it's a tragedy. I don't understand. It's a problem I have.
Needle has been prepared, we can give the golden needle to Millicent, proving that it does indeed work to forestall the rotting sickness.
You see, as someone who kills all NPCs, I did, in fact, give her the needle, okay? I gave her the needle so she can get the arm, so then I could kill her and take her arm, because her arm is a pretty cool talisman. Listen, I'm not trying to be a bad guy. I just wanted the talisman. And in my defense, let chaos take the world, okay? Kill her, be killed. She was gonna die anyway. Probably. Like, she's rotting. She has cancer, bro.
To remove pain and nightmares from the afflicted. It is, after all.
You know what else removes pain and nightmares from the afflicted? Death, which is why I swiftly gave her the cure to her nightmares.
Lovingly crafted by Miquella himself.
Well, this is a marvel indeed. The work of a true artisan, a meticulous, bold craftsman who grasps the essence of life.
In crafting these needles and pursuing unalloyed gold, Miquella is attempting to save his sister from her affliction. It seems like this objectively good deed, which is a rare sight.
I love how he's saying that only in hindsight. Objectively good deed. When in the reality, it might be because he's trying to stall the god of rot in order to impose his own order of kindness into the world. Like, it looks like an objectively good deed. But now, with all the context of what he's actually planning on doing, you don't know how many people he's willing to put in harm's way for the sake of his pure and utter kindness. God, what a fantastic character.
In Elden Ring, especially for a demigod whose strengths have been known to tip them towards madness, and that is what makes Miquella such a pure and likable character in Elden Ring. So it's no wonder
Pure and likable character in Elden Ring. While you haven't met him, introducing the DLC.
Really that Malenia venerated her brother. She is a character of undefeated prowess.
Right in the balls.
She's an Empyrean, no less. And yet, she dedicated her blade to Miquella, and Miquella alone, for she believes that he possesses the wisdom, the allure of a god, and that he
actual Griffith moment
is the most fearsome Empyrean of all. The story of their bond and duty to one another is legendary, and that's something that becomes quite clear when we explore Miquella's Haligtree and see these statues depicting their embrace all around. And if you were one of the many defiled outcasts in Elden Ring, you too might have felt inspired by this story, and you might have felt inclined to earn Miquella's favor and make the long pilgrimage towards your salvation, towards the distant divine Haligtree.
Okay, alright, listen, Miquella, I understand that you're supposed to be all wholesome and shit, and you made this whole cool Haligtree for all these people that are outcast to society, but have you ever considered installing an elevator? Or maybe even stairs? Why is it platforming to go from your fucking bathroom to your living room? Every time you want to take a shit, you literally have to triple jump over a chasmous abyss, okay? That ain't right, brother. That ain't right.
Its brace, that was Miquella's domain.
Miquella of the Haligtree. See, that's what I mean. They all have different titles based on the different actions they take. He's called Miquella the Unalloyed when we're worried about him halting the spread of rot. He's called Miquella of the Haligtree when he's talking about being the shelter of all these characters. And he's called Miquella the Kind when he's trying to impose his order of kindness on the world. Like, it's so fascinating how his titles and name changes based on the situation. And according to Vati, like you said in the beginning of the video, this guy's also Saint Trina somehow. So he might have, his name and gender might change based on how he's regarded.
So first, what even is the Haligtree?
Oh, it's a big fucking tree with big ants, spiders, and some minorities that want to kill you.
Well, it's pretty obvious that it's a sort of Erd tree. For one,
all right, I have my answer, you have yours.
Tree avatars have clearly emerged from it, which they only do in order to protect the Erd tree's own offspring. And then there's the Haligtree Knight armor, which confirms that the Haligtree ultimately failed to grow into an Erd tree. And one thing I've been wondering is, when exactly was the Haligtree planted then? If we knew when, then we might be able to guess at its purpose. Was it planted before or after the shattering of the Elden Ring? Because when the Elden Ring was shattered, golden seeds flew from the Erd tree, scattering across the various lands as if life itself knew that its end had come.
Damn, that's crazy. My guess is before. It had to be before the shattering, right?
These seeds create these little illusory trees and likely spawned the minor Erd trees as well, so I think it's a fair assumption that Miquella might have planted the Haligtree from an Erd tree seed. And if that was indeed the case, then it should have happened after the shattering, for before that, the Erd tree was considered perfect and eternal, and it wasn't even believed that Erd tree seeds could exist. But on the flip side, the golden Epitaph sword that we mentioned earlier...
This man sees one sword and is like, alright, I'm gonna make a 58-minute long video on this one sword.
...likely existed before the shattering, as it was created to commemorate Godwyn's death. And this sword...
And it already displays the Haligtree! Yeah, baby! I don't know. That's why I think that it very likely is something that came before the Erd Tree. Especially because how long is it already since the Shattering, right? Miquella's already captured. He's already kidnapped. The Haligtree was already like a big safe haven for all these Albinarics and stuff. I don't know.
Displays the Haligtree sigil when its weapon art is activated, so one could infer that the Haligtree must have existed at this point too, right? So I guess it's always possible that Miquella somehow procured an Erd Tree seed before the Shattering, or simply grew it from his own being, as he is a sign of the Golden Bough, after all.
I agree.
But whatever...
I agree. You grew it of his own being. That's what I'm going to call my son. My son's going to be like, Daddy, how are babies made? You grow them out of your own being.
The case, Miquella clearly decided that growing such a tree was important, and he even went so far as to water it with his own blood. This confirms that the Erd Tree is indeed a blood-sucking parasite. Just kidding. Sort of. I mean, you have to admit...
What was that joke? It's a blood-sucking parasite. Just kidding. Sort of, Lamau. Just like children. Children are also blood-sucking parasites. Metaphorically, of course.
It is pretty disturbing that...
But also literally.
...that an Erd Tree could flourish in such a manner. But this does lead us to the final question, which is, why was the Haligtree planted? What was the point of it? And at the end of...
Again, I think it's just some sort of safe haven for all these people where he can gain strength in the Land of Shadow, show up to the Haligtree, see, booyah, make it the new Erd Tree, destroy the world. This is just a theory, a Nux theory.
The day, the main reason is always going to be because it's like the Erd Tree. It's natural to compare them, and the item descriptions seem to want you to compare them as well. The Erd Tree is this enormous icon of power and faith in the lands between, so evoking that and inspiring worship is clearly a valuable thing.
I don't know if it's about the aspiring worship. I feel like somehow every order needs some sort of stepping stool into the current mortal world. Like when you look at these outer gods, right? The outer gods are these entities that are so far beyond any form of existence in a physical form or in the lands between. So in order for these outer gods to make some sort of contact or impact or landing into the current world, there needs to be blood sacrifices! But also, there needs to be a place for them to actually reach. Like, even in the Lovecraftian mythos, which I think is a huge inspiration for what the Outer Gods in Elden Ring are. In the Lovecraftian mythos, Cthulhu acted as a priest to summon the greater Outer Gods, like Azathoth and Yog-Sothoth, into the mortal world. But the way he would do that is by creating the Temple of R'lyeh, which is like an entire island that ended up sinking to the bottom of the sea, and that will be the foothold for these Outer Gods in the current world. Then, all you do is get a couple of blood sacrifices, and you get to actually summon these elder gods into the current universe. I think that we have a very similar idea where that R'lyeh equivalent, the equivalent of the foothold in this world, would be something like the Erd Tree. It might even be the Ionian swamp for the goddess of rot. I'm not saying that the Erd Tree needs to be the foothold for everyone, but at the end of Elden Ring, when you actually complete the game and you start... you get your ending, an Age of Order, an Age of Chaos, an Age of fucking your mother. That's Mohg's ending. When you have that whole idea at the end of Elden Ring, you notice the tree changes colors based on the ending. Age of the Duskborn, and it's white. Age of the, I don't know, Frenzied Flame, and it becomes Sauron's Eye. The entire idea for in Elden Ring is that the tree actually changes completely based on which outer god currently has their order implemented in the world. That's what I think the Haligtree was supposed to be. The Haligtree was supposed to be the homestead and the stepping stone for this greater idea of an order of kindness to take hold in the world. And in order to fully get it ready to rumble, he invites all these minority groups that have been subjugated and tormented throughout history to this Haligtree. It becomes a home for all of them. And I think that is beautiful. And I think that that's what these trees would represent.
But the Erd Tree was only really an icon of faith in its later years. Before that, it was a symbol of abundance, with light as warm as the gentle sun that could gradually heal all those who bathed in its rays.
All right, that sounds cute and wholesome, but I like the cosmic god concept better. So, agree to disagree?
But perhaps most importantly, during this time of abundance, it would drip sacred dew, sap, or tears that could bestow.
That is Cthulhu come. As we know, in the Call of Cthulhu, Cthulhu would come on people that he want. Okay, that was that. You know, I'm not gonna get away with that one.
Blessings, form crystal tears, and even be embedded into talismans. These were treasured things, and naturally, this was an extremely valuable symbol for Miquella to evoke, since he is himself associated with dew and abundance in the cut content. And his Haligtree did drip with dew, the greenish amber of the Haligtree.
Okay, that's a stretch, man. He is like dew, and this is a tree, and the tree has dew. It is literally connected.
Haligtree can even be seen in cut content items. It even looks as if it's mingled with a bit of Miquella's own blood.
Ooh.
And that signature green hue of Haligtree amber is also seen in the Haligtree Knight Sword, which is not a cut weapon, and this was modeled after the Carrion Knight's own swords, except it was embedded with amber from the Haligtree.
Dude, the Carrion Knight's swords are so beautiful.
Instead of glintstone. Okay, so the Haligtree is a great symbol of faith and power and abundance, and Miquella is related to abundance.
And stepping stone for the order of kindness trying to impose upon the world. All right. Now listen, I've said my piece. We move on. That's me. I overanalyze shit. Yeah, that's why you're here.
In the cut content, but what else does the Haligtree add in terms of value? Well, the Haligtree itself is something of a vessel, fit for a god. Miquella plants himself inside it later on.
Ew.
Malenia returns home to it. And speaking of it being a home, many other creatures have made their home within the tree, and within the brace that supports it as well. And I guess you could also argue that the Haligtree might be a sort of a tool to be used. After all, Marika puts the Erdtree to use in such a way, using its roots to absorb people after their death, and perhaps even its branches to rebirth life. And then the Erdtree is later used as a prison, with thorns that are almost entirely impenetrable.
Well, I don't know if it's used as a prison or if it's like a defense mechanism to protect the Elden Ring. Because ultimately, if you go in there and you try to impose some new order, the entire idea of what the Erdtree becomes is just vastly different. It changes and morphs. So the Erdtree uses this as a defense mechanism. I don't know if this is like a whole Marika utilized the thorns. You know? I don't know, maybe.
But I don't think Miquella planned to use the Haligtree in such a way. Perhaps the biggest difference between the Haligtree and the Erdtree.
You can see the Haligtree from the windmill town? God, this fucking game is so cool! The map is so insanely dope. It's wild how big this game is. Oh my god, that is so cool. Bro.
Is that the Haligtree was built in a largely inhospitable region. It is extremely difficult to reach, and unlike the Erdtree, it might not really be designed for the benefit of the vast majority of the world. As it stands, the Haligtree strikes me as being more like the Painted World from Dark Souls. It's a place...
Okay, what the... Oh god, I have to do Dark Souls lore after this, oh my god.
...for the outcasts, the heretical, and the malign, not to mention the low and the meek, who are specifically named in the description of the Sacred Crown Helm. While many of the Scarlet Rot-afflicted seem to be here because of the eventual decay of the Haligtree, I think that there are a number of refugees here that would have been here before that, namely the Misbegotten, the Crystallian, these astray mages of
Sorry, that was just racism.
Raya Lucaria, and of course Loretta, who deemed this place to be
Loretta's such a cool boss fight.
A great haven for the despised Albinaurics. The second generation Albinaurics even carry a weapon called the Ivory Sickle, which reads, "These weapons are evidence of their dedication to the Haligtree, despite never having entered its presence."
So were they not able to go? Or did they decide not to go, but they still worship it? Or were they just not able to find it or something?
And we really don't find a single Albinauric within the Haligtree.
Oh.
I'll admit, I do find this a bit strange. You do find quite a few Albinaurics so close to the Haligtree. It's a bit...
Dude, the game just wants you to feel even worse for them. Oh my god. This is honestly so sad. This is tragic. They're like, the Albinaurics, they're kind of shit. They're kind of bad, and they're downtrodden, and everyone hates them. In fact, they've never even succeeded in getting to their paradise. Not a single one of them. Like, oh my god. Oh, dude.
Strange to me they don't go just that little bit further.
Maybe they
The
can't.
reason given
They
for
suck.
the first generation of Albanites not being at the Haligtree is given by Albus, who says that their faded legs are the reason for that. But yeah, we find them defending Miquella and his Haligtree all the same.
Yeah, but those are women, so women without legs can get much further than men without legs. This is just biology, okay? Okay, haters? Take the red pill and acknowledge the fact that women without legs are superior to men without legs.
At the Ordina liturgical town, which takes us to the Haligtree via a puzzle within an Everjail.
I hate this puzzle so much. The fucking machine gun turret women and the goddamn invisible assassin. Oh god, get me out of here.
The word liturgical means relating to public worship, and this town is fittingly filled with many statues of Miquella sitting alone, cradling what might have become the
Oh my god, that's a little Haligtree! I never even considered that. That is so cool.
Haligtree back when it was still just a sapling. I also find it interesting that the Haligtree is never called out as competing with the Erd Tree or never called out for housing all these undesirables.
That is interesting. I didn't consider that. Why isn't it counted as an enemy of the Erd Tree? It's not counted as an enemy of order for some reason, right? Like everyone else, you got Rykard, the blasphemous. Yeah, you got Mohg, that everyone hated how he was bringing in this Mohg dynasty, right? Like every single one of them had like a whole, like they hated Rani. The two fingers tried to kill her. For some reason, the Haligtree is not deemed as a rival power.
Perhaps the House of the Erd Tree was happy to see ungraceful folk leave their lands.
Wow, that's fucked up. Why wouldn't you say that they are happy that the ungraceful folk have found a place to live? No. They found that finally those fucking losers found a left. Oh, finally. Oh, God. I don't know.
Perhaps the Haligtree was extremely well hidden from everyone and they didn't know.
That's how I understood it, I think, in the game. Because no one ever talks about the Haligtree, basically.
Or perhaps Miquella could just get away with it because he was beloved by all.
I like that idea, too. He is a femboy, and everyone loves femboys. Femboys are probably the most powerful force in the galaxy. No one hates femboys. No one. Even Andrew Tate doesn't hate femboys.
For example, the Bewitching Branch is an item that you can create from Miquella's lilies, and it is blessed with an incantation of unalloyed gold and reads, "The Empyrean Miquella is loved by many people. Indeed, he has learned very well how to compel such affection."
Damn.
And
how to compel affection. I think, again, I know this is a hot take at this point in time, and I know that this lore is not properly sought out. He's compelling affection. He is compelling affection. He forces people to like him through his kindness. I think that that's what he's saying.
And that second part that says he has learned how to compel affection, to me that's saying that Miquella is very good at knowing how to inspire others' affection.
Manipulate people, but okay.
To his own advantage.
Yeah. He inspires people for his own advantage. He manipulates them and contorts them. He testicular torsions them into liking him.
And nowhere is this more clear, I think, than at Castle Sol.
What? Lord Miquella of the Eclipse. What the fuck? I didn't even know there was a Miquella Eclipse shit, huh? Well, I guess you get half the medallion for the Haligtree.
This is the Haligtree Secret Medallion. It's furnished with that signature green amber, and it features the Haligtree in the background, for it allows you to access a secret lower level of the Grand Lift of Rold and progress through the consecrated snowfields to this sacred place. Having both halves of this secret medallion is therefore extremely desirable, for the medallion has another name. It's called Miquella's Favor.
Ooh. Yeah, but I think that, again, this whole idea of compelling people into liking him, he compelled his sister into following him blindly, literally. I think he compelled Mohg into kidnapping, compelled Radagon into fighting with Malenia. I think he actually is the Griffith of this show. He is a being of kindness and love and warmth. He is I think, a much more a much less narcissistic Griffith. And it's really fascinating to look at him through the guise of a villain, because I think that everyone always looks at him through the guise of a hero.
Miquella's favor. Yours.
Yeah.
Slaughter.
Yeah.
Slaughter.
Okay, that's fucked up.
Slaughter. The all-hearing slaughtered. But alas, it was for naught. But all you need do is snatch it from the big pot.
Gideon is the all-hearing man in this dialogue, and he slaughtered an entire village just for one half of this medallion.
Base Gideon. Dude, Gideon is, like, awesome. I love Gideon. I don't want to hear Grandma's climaxing. Well, then don't play Elden Ring, I guess. Dude, it's a shame Gideon's boss fight is so goofy, or else, like, he would actually be such a cool character. Can you imagine if he was a hard boss fight?
He did not find it in Albus's possession, but you can. And the other half is at Castle Sol, right before a nameless phantom who says this.
Let me guess. That's my guess for what he says. Let's see.
Lord Miquella, forgive me. The sun has not been swallowed. Our prayers were lacking. Your comrade remains soulless. I will never set my eyes upon it now. Your divine Haligtree.
I was close. I more or less got it right, I would argue. You could say pre-watched now.
So, this phantom seemingly has, or I guess had, one half of the medallion, and yet he laments that he will now never set eyes upon the Haligtree.
Well, yeah, because he's dead.
To me, this suggests that Miquella might have been withholding the second half of the medallion from him, or that this phantom believed that he could solicit the second half of the medallion from Miquella and make it to the Haligtree if he achieved his goal here at Castle Sol and basically earned Miquella's favor. But what exactly was supposed to happen here at Castle Sol?
That's a really good question. I have no idea. I felt like this whole Castle Sol had fit nowhere in the plot at all. Like, at all. Big Eclipse worshipping castle named Castle of the Sun. You get a Haligtree thingo. Somehow, this Commander O'Neill and Commander O'Neill's ugly brother, these two guys out here are just holding on to random Miquella items. Somehow.
What does it mean when the phantom says, "The sun has not been swallowed, our prayers were lacking, your comrade remains soulless"?
I don't know, it kind of sounds to me like Miquella's trying to swallow the world with shadow and darkness. Hence, the shadow of the Tree, baby. I don't know. I think he's a fucked up dude. Bro is actually Griffith.
It means, I think, that the residents of Castle Sol and Miquella were attempting to restore the dead soul of Godwyn the Golden. And just to refresh your memory, when a fragment of the Rune of Death was used to kill Godwyn, it was also being used at the exact same time to kill Ranni, and since they perished at the same time, Ranni lost her body, and Miquella's demigod brother, Godwyn, perished in soul alone.
True.
And despite this death seeming so final, Miquella clearly believes that some sort of ritual performed here could restore the soul of his comrade.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, how do you know that the soul of his... I mean, I guess you could say that potentially the soul of his comrade could be Godwyn. But I don't think so. This is sounding a lot more Radagon-like. God, it's so crazy how everything kind of gets put into perspective so much better with this DLC. Like, this was truly a masterpiece in lore and a masterpiece in gameplay. Like, it's actually a feat that I don't think gaming has ever seen. I have never been literally this excited for a game like I am for this DLC. I am...
long and hard.
Every time I even think about the DLC. Like, unironically.
For example, here's some more dialogue from a different phantom that reads, "O great sun, frigid son of Sol, surrender yourself to the Eclipse, grant life to the soulless bones."
Bone!
The question is how? How does that work? How does an eclipse restore life to Godwyn? Now you can just take...
Well, you know what an eclipse is, right? You know, an eclipse is when the moon moves in front of the sun, and therefore, the reason why everything gets dark and blotched out is because you were literally in the shadow. The moon's shadow blocking the sun. The shadow of the Erdtree, the entire DLC really seems to be vibing that eclipse concept. The idea of existing in a shadow.
Miquella at face value and trust that he knows what he's doing, or we can try to learn as much as we can about the Eclipse and
trust how much he's doing. That didn't work very well with Griffith, did it?
see if we can
another femboy, white-haired femboy dude out there. I don't know.
reason out the
Dude, it's so crazy that Miquella and Radagon is literally just Guts and Griffith all over again.
mechanism behind this process.
The Eclipse sound familiar to you?
So at Castle Sol, we find the Eclipse Shotel, which reads, storied...
the worst weapon introduced in any Souls game ever. That was incredibly exploitable. Let's go.
And treasure of Castle Sol that depicts an eclipsed sun drained of color. In Sol, the sight of an eclipse inspires a dreadful awe, preventing an onlooker from averting his gaze.
Well, then they're all going to go blind.
The most important part of this description, though, is the part that says it's the storied sword of Castle Sol, as this proves that the veneration of the eclipse here goes back a long way. But what does an eclipse represent? So, according to the Eclipse Crest shields, the eclipsed sun, drained of color, is the protective star of soulless demigods.
The protective star of soulless demigods. I mean, again, looking at the entire DLC in a nutshell, like the whole concept of him using Radagon's soul in the shadow of the Erdtree is so cool. And also, the whole idea of an eclipse with the moon blocking the sun is really similar to the idea that the almost like the Haligtree is the moon blocking the Erdtree's sun. I don't know. There's so much here. There are so many just insanely good references throughout.
Honestly,
I
I think
Eclipse
calling
thing.
it a protective star is kind of the closest we come to understanding the mechanism here, because
Especially because a lot of the outer gods that we actually see in Elden Ring are fashioned off the cosmos. Like the Golden Order is some sort of... They are aliens, the Age of Stars, the moon, the Dark Moon. Like, there are so many cosmic forces. It makes sense that the Eclipse would have some sort of cosmic impact on the world of Elden Ring. I really like that, all in all. I don't know. That's just me.
because you could reason that a protective star might be a sort of outer god that lends
Oh!
power.
Oh!
It's just speculation. The
Yeah. One brain cell.
description goes on to say that the sun in eclipse is said to be the symbol of the wandering mausoleum where the soulless demigods slumber.
What?
So note that it says demigods plural here. Now, this could be because the wandering mausoleums come to house many demigods from a gameplay point of view, because you can take their remembrances here. But it could be a word that is slightly lost in translation, as the Japanese version of the word demigods does not specify whether it's a plural or whether it's a singular word. So my take on this is that I think the wandering mausoleums became necessary when Godwyn died. I think that the mausoleum was intended to be a resting place for him initially, but then
Why there's so many of them? There's billions.
also for any future demigods.
What, you think Godwyn died and they're like, all right, so we're going to make 12 walking giant graves. One for Godwyn, and the other 11 are inevitably other guys are going to get killed. I mean, they're immortal, but whatever. They'll find a way.
As all of a sudden, all of their true deaths had become possible as well, with the theft of a fragment of the Rune of Death. The Mausoleum Knights themselves are these headless soldiers who behead themselves, willingly following their master
Nearly headless? How can someone be nearly headless?
to death. As such, they become these headless spirits, tied to the land, so that they might better defend the walking mausoleum.
I love how much love went into this game. The fact that there's lore to the random headless knights, an order of people that they would take their own head off to worship their god, who ends up being Miquella, as you find way later, because they have the same shield with the mark on it that Castle Sol does. Like, there is so much insane detail and love crammed into this game. FromSoft is literally not just a titan in the industry, it is the only surviving game studio truly being true to what it's supposed to be doing. You know, making games.
They also carry eclipse-crested shields.
Crazy! This is Liurnia! This is right in the beginning of the game! This is so far from Castle Sol! Oh my god!
And the eclipse is said to aid the Mausoleum Knights by keeping destined death at bay. It is their symbol, and by keeping destined death at bay, maybe it's helping to keep their souls tied to the land. We could speculate for a long time on how the eclipse has this power, and I've done my best. Maybe other people.
I am just now noticing.
Could speculate for.
I'm just now noticing that the horse is beheaded too. Oh my god, that is gruesome. Oh my god, that is gruesome!
For a long time on how the eclipse has this power, and I've done my best. Maybe other people have a better take on it, and maybe you guys do in the comments, but in the end, it's simpler just to trust that Miquella knew what he was doing with the eclipse at Castle Sol, where he wanted to block out the sun and restore Godwyn's soul.
I don't know. Last time I trusted someone that knew what they were doing about an eclipse, it was Griffith, and that did not work out well even at all a little bit. I like the idea that Griffith is also like an Antichrist character in Berserk. Like, he's a character that's looked at as everyone else as potentially a revelation of sorts. He's the second coming. He is redemption and retribution against the forces of darkness. Everyone looks at him as like the ultimate good guy. Much like Miquella, everyone is compelled to love Griffith. Everyone loves Griffith. Griffith got that Miquella riz, for real. And Miyazaki said that he loves Berserk and inspires him. Yes, I am aware that every single Dark Souls game has the Guts Greatsword. But in the end, Griffith is the ultimate false prophet. He's like the anti-chosen one character. He is someone that ultimately, through an eclipse, that everyone was like, I'll trust you, bro. He ended up literally dicking everyone over. And I think Miquella also, throughout the entire Elden Ring, without the DLC, Miquella looks like exactly how Griffith looked like. If you didn't know that what his game plan is and that he caused the eclipse. And now that we have the DLC and we see what's going on, it kind of gives us a little look into his eyes and makes you start to recognize that, wait a second, maybe he's not this kindly Miquella that everyone really thinks he is.
Well, that said, we can't trust him too much, I guess, because it's important to remember that this ritual failed. According to this phantom, the sun was not swallowed. And I guess the protective star of the Soulless Demigods did not listen to their prayers, and it did not appear. But it is really fascinating to learn that such a thing might even be possible. That Godwyn, whose soul seems to be as dead as Rani's body, might actually not be. So,
dude, it's so tragic that this is the most heroic and kind character in the whole story. Like I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. It seems like out of every single one of the characters in Elden Ring, the only one that didn't really have his own motivation and twist and order that he wanted to impose on people was Godwyn. That character that literally dies off screen in a flashback.
If his soul is somewhere, then where has it fled to? A part of me wonders, if his soul is lost, then maybe it's lost within a dream? One theory I did come up with regarding the mechanism by which Godwyn's soul is brought back by the...
See, you know what would be really been interesting? If the DLC would have introduced, the final battle would have been Godwyn. Godwyn as the consort of Miquella. That would have been crazy. But it really took us all for a loop with the final boss of the DLC. Deserved,
Eclipse
though.
Is that his soul might be brought back by bringing about a sort of artificial dusk with the eclipse. That's because those
Age of the Duskborn
who live in death are called the Duskborn, after all, so there is an association between night and death, to be sure. And there's also an association
between simps and Miquella.
Between death and sleep. For example, when you pursue Fia's questline, you use her as a medium to enter Godwyn's deathbed dream, which is an entire dreamscape where
Listen, the idea of dreams and sleep and death being linked is a very, very old concept. Even in the Talmud, like ancient Jewish philosophy, talks about how sleep is a 60th of death. Whatever that means. I mean, no, listen, I'm not going to tell you I understand it, but like that is a phrase that is used, right? So it is interesting that it shows up so often in different media like that.
The dragon Fortisax is futilely fighting against the death in his companion. And then there's Roger, who speaks this line of dialogue as he is on the precipice of succumbing to Deathroot.
Maybe I should tell you. Lately, I feel I'm on the precipice.
Oh, another one. Thanatos and Hypnos. Death and sleep in Greek mythology are twin brothers. Thanks, chat. Good one, yes.
Falling into a deep, fathomless slumber.
He does say he's about to fall into sleep. So, in conclusion, a realm of death does seem accessible through dream. And I think this is the perfect time to mention that Miquella has an alter ego.
Alright, this one I had no idea about. This took me by shock at the beginning of the video.
Some say she is a comely young girl.
Comely? The hell word is that?
That Miquella has an alter ego. Some say she is a comely young girl.
What the hell's a comely young girl? Fuck is a comely? Pleasing in appearance, attractive, fair, comely. Oh my god! I'm gonna start telling people are comely. I'll be like, oh, you're a very comely fellow, aren't you? Oh yeah.
Others are sure he is a boy. This is where we have to talk about the enigmatic figure named St. Trina.
Alright. Ooh, St. Trina of the Cradle Song. Very cool.
Perhaps the biggest in-game clue about St. Trina's true identity is Trina's lily, which bears this undeniable resemblance to Miquella's lily.
Bro, they're lilies! Lilies! I know I'm screaming like that, but the reality is, he's probably right. FromSoft don't make these references willy-nilly.
Its description reveals that it is a symbol of faith in St. Trina, dulls the senses, preventing agitation. Naturally, it can be used to craft a bunch of sleep-afflicting items like St. Trina's arrow, which states that the sweet oblivion of sleep can become quite the habit, and it tells of the priests of St. Trina who use these arrows to spread their teachings, though the Japanese description seems to specify that these were more of a tool used for their rituals. So, it's largely left to your imagination as to what rituals these priests might have been performing.
I don't know. You put people to sleep, you blood sacrifice, Cthulhu.
Though I will mention that it seems St. Trina might actually be able to be found somewhere within sleep.
I do like the idea that the shadow of the Erdtree is like a dream world of sorts. I mean, obviously it isn't literally a dream world, but it does have that vibe. You know, you're sitting in a realm of shadows.
This is suggested by Feather's cookbook, which reads, a record of crafting techniques left by a man who was utterly captivated by St. Trina. He continued the search for her in his slumber. We get a side profile of her in the hilt of St. Trina's sword, which hints at that flowing astray hair that she has, and then we get a much better front-on view of this feminine adult form upon St.
How on earth do you look at this and say it's a feminine adult form? Bro, at least with the Godwyn statue, you were like, after feeling his chest, I've noticed he has no boobs. And that's how you made that. How you figured this one out?
Trina's torch. The carvings depict St. Trina, but in adult form, somewhat unnervingly.
That's interesting, because why would it say that? It's the feminine eye in the center of her forehead. Yes, that'll do it. No, but what is interesting is, why would it say but in adult form somewhat unnervingly, right? That implies that St. Trina could not reach adulthood. Who doesn't reach adulthood? Miquella. It fits very, very nicely. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. He's the St. Trina is the femto to Miquella's Griffith.
The carving is indeed unnerving, and it's certainly strange considering Miquella is supposed to be eternally a child. It raises the question, what has to happen for Miquella to grow up into this? And
maybe it's a dream state. Maybe it's more of a lesson of maturity. Because in a dream, in your mind, you are not who you look like necessarily. As someone who's afflicted with eternal youth like Miquella, maybe in his mind's eye, that's not how he will end up. So St. Trina is an embodiment of sleep. This is what he looks like in his mind, you know?
And why is this bizarre creature the adult form that he takes? Another question worth asking, I think, is whether Miquella even has total control of St. Trina. What if he's in a similar situation to Marika Radagon, where their alter ego is an
call it Marikadagon, okay? I don't want to hear any of this Marika Radagon shtick. It's Marikadagon.
Opposite of sorts, and able to act almost as if they have their own free will. So, all of this is definitely a little bit of a disturbing view of what St. Trina could be, but I guess we do have cut content that does somewhat reassure
Alright.
them that their alter ego is still a benevolent person. This cut content was first showcased by Sekido Dubi, and this cut content is truly ancient. It exists in one of the oldest versions of the game that we know about, so a lot has probably changed since then, but regardless, here we can learn about St. Trina's crystal ball, which once read, "A crystal ball full of mist, symbol of St. Trina of the Cradle Song, copies dream mist from a sleeping being."
What the hell? Dream mist? This isn't even something that exists in the game.
Dream mist was once used as an ingredient in rare and potent physics. May the quietude of slumber come to all and sundry, even to those whose red eyes burn with the flames of frenzy.
Oh my god, and of course he's playing the merchant song in the background just to make me cry a little bit.
So this reveals that this
Well, that definitely does fit well with the whole idea that Miquella's unalloyed golden needle actually cures frenzy, right? Because here you see St. Trina somehow is a cure to frenzy. And I guess sleep, in a way, could be, and kindness could be counteractions to frenzy, right? Frenzy and chaos could be subdued with sleep or kindness. They could help you walk off that insanity. And so I guess it does counteract this to some degree.
This cut version of St. Trina even once had sympathy for those afflicted by the flame of frenzy.
Aw, she would have sympathy for me, guys.
They even went so far as to teach the merchants their songs.
What?
Our song derives from an old lullaby, sung for us long ago, deep inside our tomb. But whoever it was sings no longer. Its melody allowed us to sleep, despite the cursed flame.
Oh my god, dude. It was Miquella before he was kidnapped by Mohg. God.
The description of Miquella's songs as a lullaby is referenced by the modern-day sleep pot description, which reads, "Like a lullaby or a quagmire, its light purple haze irresistibly draws its victims down into sleep. Sweet dreams." This is the closest thing we have to Dream Mist as well, which was an item that you could again once collect from sleeping enemies.
What?
And after you did this, you were supposed
Oh, is this in the cut content? You were able to collect Dream Mist from sleeping enemies?
to sell this Dream Mist to the merchants, who used it to quell their flame of frenzy.
Oh my god, that's so cool. That would have been a really interesting inclusion in the game. I wonder why they didn't actually go with it.
But as the merchants once said, whoever it was that sings, now sings no longer.
Oh, unless because if they still had this whole Dream Mist concept in the actual game. Interesting. Maybe that the reason why they had to exclude all this is because St. Trina is not active anymore. Because Miquella is in the Shadow Realm. Miquella lost a duel to Yugi Moto, and nothing is the same.
And this is a
This is how we kill chaos, by spamming a lullaby. Real.
detail that has remained intact even in the final version of Elden Ring, with St. Trina's sword stating that St. Trina's appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. Something clearly happened to Miquella that prevented them from continuing their work as St. Trina, and that is what we will discuss next.
Yeah, Mohg time. It's Mohg time! It's Mohg time! I wonder if this part is still gonna hold true after the DLC. Miquella's promise. Mohg time!
At some point, Miquella embedded himself into the Haligtree. Why he did this is never explicitly stated, but I think we can make a good attempt at puzzling it out. So, Miquella famously watered the Haligtree with his own blood, since it was a sapling.
Cool.
So,
Yep. Based.
I guess you could argue that he embedded himself in it to simply feed the tree more.
I love how he says that simply. Well, since he simply, feeds the tree with blood, he's just gonna, he's gonna let himself get vored by the giant living god tree, and just to simply absorb his nutrients,
Which I guess is possible because the tree does eventually wither without Miquella inside it, and Gideon seems to tie his removal with the death of the Haligtree, or...
And he's called Gideon the All-Knowing, okay? He's not called Gideon the guy that gets one shot from behind, completely tarnishing his legacy. Get it? Tarnishing his legacy. Get it? Tarnishing it. Do you get it? Do you get it? Because when there's some, they're called tarnished is what they call them. Get it? Do you get when I say
it turning into a husk? But I don't think that can be the only reason why he embedded himself. For instance, look closely at the Haligtree roots, and you'll see the form of a tree-like woman, and...
You fucking see a tree-like woman? Wait. Huh?
where her womb should be.
Oh my god, I see the tree-like woman! Bro, the hair, the face, womb! Oh my god, I've never noticed it! I've been in this boss fight 1 billion times! I've been in this boss room literally hundreds of times! The boob. I had to say it. I never saw it! Oh my god! Stop saying wood, chat. I don't even want to hear about this. I'm unhappy
There's
now.
a gap.
How did I never see
a gap
this?
that once contained Miquella's cocoon, cradled by the Haligtree.
Yeah, probably.
Now, either Miquella was attempting to fuse into and become this woman-like figure, who might even be the adult form shown on St. Trina's torch.
See, I don't think St. Trina is a physical form at all. I just think that that's the manifestation that she takes in dreams.
Or there was a rebirth occurring here. This is a cocoon within a womb, after all, so...
Oh my glob. Do you think the whole cocoon? Oh my god, is this a pelvis bone? This is a pelvic bone, isn't it? Oh, how have I never noticed any of this? Someone in chat just said, not the first plant I've banged.
Rebirth could have been the intent here, but regardless, it seems things ended prematurely, for Miquella would eventually be ripped out of the womb and the Haligtree would split and decay. And so, when we arrive at the Haligtree and the town of Elfale that is built into the brace that supports it, the music here hits extremely hard. This place is just so sorrowful. For the Haligtree,
Pretty sorrowful.
Miquella's lilies, and even St. Trina's lilies
That's pretty
are
sorrowful.
all wilting, and all
That
who
sucks.
live here are just hoping and
God.
praying for
Oh,
their
Lord.
lord to return. I love the little detail of the
I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Hope is a fool's quest. Goon instead. That was said by Gandhi.
guards looking outwards and sitting dejectedly. To make matters worse for them, it was here that they realized that the sacred light inside them would explode.
Yeah, there he is, Miquella, god of kindness. Am I right, guys? Kindness. Look, he gave them a sacred light. Yes, it becomes a suicide vest, but whatever.
Upon their imminent deaths, and yet, in spite of this, their spirit ashes show their faith and state, "May the flash of our deaths guide Miquella's return." And
That's
Malenia
nice.
is here too, holding to the husk of Miquella, dreaming and waiting for Miquella to return, and believing full well that he will.
Damn.
Corpse after corpse left in my wake as I awaited his return.
Malenia's set reveals that she believes her brother will keep his promise. So what was that promise, I wonder?
Ooh.
Was it merely
New order time. It's an order of kindness. Turns out he wanted to tear it all down, baby. He wanted to tear it all down.
to return, or was it something more? How much does Malenia know? Why did she fight Radagon?
Well, my game theory is she was manipulated into doing that by Miquella. Fuck. My game theory is Miquella wanted Radagon's soul to become his consort because he's the strongest demigod.
We'll have to talk about all of that in another video.
Yeah, that's gonna be after the DLC. This whole story is gonna change massively.
So there is still faith. There's even this one phantom in the consecrated snowfields who
Dude is the only guy that actually listens to the dialogue of these phantoms.
has somehow puzzled out who took Miquella, and even where they are, he is pointed towards the portal that takes you to Mohg Palace.
Oh my
and
god, he actually does that?
Mohg, the Omen. So, indeed, it was the demigod Mohg who somehow broke into the Haligtree and absconded with Miquella's infant form.
Absconded. It's a good word. It's a good word. He kidnapped his brother for nefarious purposes. Okay? His brother is stuck in a washing machine. Alright? He was a comely femboy, and Mohg kidnapped him.
It's with him that the story ends.
Bro, we gotta get fucking Alex Rosen on the line ASAP. Can we get Chris Hansen to walk into the Mohg arena?
Maybe It's where this story truly begins.
It's Mohg time! I was waiting for this the entire time. Are you ready for the hottest of takes? Literally the hottest of takes? I think Miquella wasn't manipulated by Mohg. I think Mohg was manipulated by Miquella.
So, if you're not familiar, Mohg is the omen son of Godwyn.
Okay, this art is awesome.
And Marika, and being an omen of royalty, he was born into a wretched mire of filth in the subterranean shanning grounds below Lane
Imagine being born with a genetic defect that he had no control over. Oh, God.
capital. But
disgusting.
unlike his brother Morgoth, who reviled his accursed blood, Mohg reveled in it.
Based Mohg! A little louder for the people in the back. Based Mohg! Dude, if you're born with some sort of affliction of some sort, or in some sort of group, or as some sort of anything, guys, embrace that shit, okay? Embrace it, dog. It makes you strong. It makes you special. But also, as a member of the Imperium of Man, fuck him. Die, heretic.
And it was assumedly because of this accursed blood that he...
Wow, Nux is defending a pedo. Bro fell off. I'm defending the idea of him not hating himself because of his accursed blood, okay? I thought that was a wholesome message, god damn it. Don't turn me into Ethan is chronically online.
chanced a meeting with an outer god called the Mother of Truth.
Ooh.
And as Mohg stood before
Mother of Truth. And I guess the whole blood idea, it works very well to say that he's trying to impose some sort of order of truth, you know? He's imposing an order of truth into the world where people aren't regarded as low because they are born cursed in some way. Nurgle would accept him wholeheartedly, true. True, really.
deep underground, his accursed blood erupted with fire, and he was truly besotted with the defilement that he was born into.
Nice teeth, bro.
Mohg is just one of many characters who discovers a new identity in the ways that they have been discarded by the world.
Yeah.
How could he not? For his defilement was validated by nothing less than an outer god.
Yeah!
As always, we know very
God, I love Mohg. What a cool character.
little of this outer god. We know she is called the Mother of... We know that she desires wounds and bestows power upon accursed blood.
Yeah. Yes, a god of truth. And you know what the truth is, bro? You know what the truth is? The truth is it doesn't matter who you are or how you were born, accursed blood or not.
Her followers can thrust their arms
Thrust!
into her body to...
Oh! 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 Ew! Ew! Her followers can thrust their arms into her body? That doesn't sound kosher.
to scatter blood flame, and followers of Mohg can share in the Lord of Blood's power and send blood flies before them. There's even been
Base Mohg, you get that, MILF.
some speculation in my recent shorts and my TikTok.
I'm just saying, Miquella is technically a 4,000-year-old vampire. He is not a child, so like it may be sex trafficking, but it's not child sex trafficking, which is a modicum better, okay?
As well, that the Formless Mother is also an outer god called the Bloodstar. But the one thing that all outer gods seem to have in common is that they all require vessels to move through. So in this case, the Formless Mother's vessel was Mohg. For example, the sacred spear that he wields,
Literally the most overpowered weapon in the entire game.
is a weapon, but it's also an instrument of communion, and Mohg may well be doing her
To the
bidding
birthplace of my dynasty.
with his actions. These actions included him starting a new dynasty called Mohgwyn, deep below the earth, in the grounds of these ancient dynastic remains. This is a secret place, difficult to reach, and it was here that Mohg brought the infant Miquella, torn as he was from his cocoon. I mean, that's how we see him in his opening cutscene, but in-game, Miquella seems to be back with a new cocoon here.
That's
you can even see it sat upon this giant pelvic bone,
I don't know how I didn't realize it was a pelvic bone until literally right now.
which seems to be a
I still can't believe I didn't notice that. I just thought it was some creepy altar.
reference to the womb of the Haligtree woman that he was literally ripped from. And it's from the remembrance of the Bloodlord that we can learn of Mohg's intent here. He wished to raise Miquella to full godhood and become his consort.
Yup, that was his plan all along. I think he was so big-brained by Miquella. It's insane. Literally had Mohg go around the world to grab him to be his consort. I think Miquella was planning on doing like this whole ass 4 billion IQ move, turn the tables on him and say, oh, thank you for being my consort. Anyway, we're not bringing in the Formless Mother. We're bringing in this kindness outer god. That's kind of how I saw what he was doing. You tried to groom me, but I groomed you first. The ultimate twist. Blood for the blood god.
Taking the role of monarch. To this end, Mohg has begun soliciting blood offerings to Miquella. And that
sounds a lot more Lovecraftian every day. That's literally how they summoned Lovecraft, how they summoned Cthulhu.
Certainly explains the state of so many who reside here. According to the Lord of Blood's exaltation talisman, he proclaimed, "Render up your offerings of blood to your lord, drench my consort's chamber, slake his cocoon's thirst."
And how the groomer has become the groomed. Corn for the cornfield. Flip floop the pig!
His awakening shall herald the dawn of our dynasty.
As long as he doesn't, like, touch his fetus hand and kiss it.
And then, to return to Mohg's remembrance, it's stated that, so far,
I just wanted one thing.
This has all been in vain, for no matter how much of his bloody bedchamber Mohg...
Oh, that sounds horrible! Bloody bedchamber? That sounds like a whole other thing. A whole other thing.
Tried to share, he received no response from the young Empyrean. So
because the young Empyrean was busy gooning in the Shadow Realm.
Maybe nothing will happen.
That's cute.
Or maybe, according to the Pureblood Knights...
So you team up with one of Mohg's people at the very end? You're able to summon, like, as a phantom to assist you fighting against Miquella at the very end of the DLC? I think you summoned one of Mohg's people who's so mad that Miquella literally gaslit Mohg his entire life. Mohg thought he was doing something, but Miquella literally controlled him the entire time. Crazy how that happened.
It is not yet time.
Blood of the heretic.
For Mohg yet slumbers beside the divinity. Be patient. The new dynasty is nigh.
God, he's such a cool boss.
What do you think? I mean, it's kind of hard to know. Even Gideon has no clue. But something does seem to be...
Even Gideon, and he knows everything.
...happening
He totally knew when you stab him in the back before the playthrough and literally one-shot him. He totally knew he was going to get annihilated like that.
Miquella in there.
Gideon, the pre-watched.
He has clearly grown, for one, since being taken, so...
Ew! Oh! Dude, he even looks like Griffith after he got tortured! Like, you can't even make this up anymore!
Testing. And personally, this is really speculation, but this...
He's gonna go full guts on me. He's gonna do the Berserk reference.
Reminds me a lot of Berserk, which we know Miyazaki is always inspired by. Spoiler warning, really, you should watch that show, but there's this...
I liked you until now. You should not watch that show. You should read that manga, okay? I am not one of those guys that says the manga is better than the anime, but with Berserk specifically, the manga is better than the anime.
Moment, at the very end of the first chapter, where Griffith betrays his companions in this sacrificial ceremony of carnage and bloodshed in order to be inaugurated and reborn as a god within an egg of sorts. This really reminds me of that. It also reminds me of a scene with Griffith where he allows himself to be abused, basically, in order to get what he wants.
Fuck! I was about to bring that up. He's so right. There's one scene where Griffith... Okay, whatever. I don't need to get into the specifics, but it's when he got tortured, and he was in that tortured state in order to get the Bailet and sacrifice everyone in order to, you know... do some really fucked up shit. And it really seems like Miquella is heading down that path. I think he's the ultimate Griffith counterpart in gaming.
So, I wonder, what if this was also what
part
Miquella
of his
wanted?
plan? He's spinning right now. My goat! Vati Vidya, my goat!
We know that he is extremely proficient at compelling others to love him.
Ew!
And Mohg is clearly...
It's a face only a mother can love. Oh shit, that kind of looks like where Trina's eye would be.
enraptured. We know that Miquella is an Empyrean prodigy, and we know that his sister, who knows him best, has total faith that he will return. So you'd think he's still in control of the situation somehow, but that could be a part of the tragedy, and Miquella, this benevolent being...
And it turns out, nope, it was all part of the plan.
Might not have predicted this at all, and is now being completely taken advantage of. Or maybe...
No.
He did intend to be taken, but he's going to get more than he bargained for with the Mother of Truth. Or maybe Miquella's fate really is long gone.
Dude, Miquella is a femboy power bottom, and there is no way my goat would actually go down this easily. Source, the DLC was released.
Another thing I want to mention, there is this place called Miquella's Hideaway in the Altus Plateau, and here...
Just one random statue, right?
We can loot Amber Starlight, which Seluvis mentions is the very fate of a demigod.
Right, Seluvis wanted you to gather this Amber Starlight so he could kill Ronnie. Which he obviously failed, because fucking Seluvis sucks.
Clearly, since it's here, you'd think it's Miquella's fate, right? And then you also have to consider that the cut content that we are basing so much of this video on is very much removed from the game. True. Because it might not fit the developer's intent. That's always possible. So I really do hope you all bear that in mind, as I would really hate to promote ideas that are against the developer's vision for this character. But I really do...
Why would he use that footage? The footage of just getting gangbanged by this bloody dude.
I think that it's a possibility that we're going to one day enter the dream of this slumbering demigod.
I would argue that he's probably right.
After all, there was once a cut character called Rico who was supposed to say the following, standing before Miquella's cocoon.
Oh shit. Oh god, he's there!
At Mohg Palace. He says, "Finally, I have found it. St. Trina's..."
Okay, I don't think he says St. Trina.
No, Lord Miquella's cadaver, such that I may aid you, O Lord. So please, I hope you welcome your humble servant Rico into your dream, the world of your heart. Indeed, I beg you grant my wish, that when you transcend from Empyrean to God, allow me a place by your side. Plus, if we do get DLC, it's going to need a new Great Rune to acquire, right?
True.
That's a huge gameplay mechanic in these games, and it'd be weird if DLC came and you couldn't get more Great Runes.
Yeah, why would
Apart from Miquella's Great Rune, the only one we don't know about also is Ranni's
Great Rune.
Great Rune, which was allegedly cast aside. So there's always that to consider, but hopefully we get some DLC to answer these questions.
Dude, honestly, the DLC is literally so much more than we bargained for. It's literally a masterpiece.
Or more likely, we'll get DLC that will give us more questions than we started with.
Dude, I'm so excited for the Vati lore videos on the DLC. Oh god, he's gonna go crazy with the dragons, because he made it like a 2-hour video on dragons. I didn't watch it yet because we still have to do the Age of Stars first. We gotta do Age of Stars before the dragons. But dude, there is literally so much crazy dragon lore in the DLC.
That's always how it seems to go, but I really hope they throw us some good curveballs with this one.
They do! The ultimate curveball is the final boss of the DLC. Literally, probably the least expected and most beloved reappearance of a character, I think, in the history of gaming.
They always do. But regardless, it's always a ton of fun to speculate with you all, so if you're still listening to this extremely long video...
Oh yeah, fuck. My video is probably double length. It's probably an hour and a half now. Oh god. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for giving me your time today.
Honestly.
Thank you to Quaylag for reviewing the script for me. Thank you, Miss Pap, for the incredible visuals, as always. And I also want to give a sincere and really reverential shout out to Eugenia Lysa, who created the speculative visuals of St. Trina. Please follow her work in the description. She's one of the most talented artists that I've ever known. And yeah, thank you, as always, of course, for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, this was a banger. This was a banger video. So much was proven right. So much is disproven at this point, but mostly proven right. I do like the whole Griffith concept a lot, and I do like the I think that's very, very relevant. I like the philosophical aspect of how obviously a world of pure kindness is naive as well. I think that he's just a fascinating character. The DLC's a masterpiece, and I'm so excited to see where this keeps going. 10,000 likes for more Elden Ring lore. I am literally holding myself back, okay? Literally holding myself back from just binging all of his lore videos because I'm loving it so much. Same with Warhammer. So if you actually want me to do more of them, let me know in the comments. And remember to stay weird, fam. If you made it to the end, click one of these 2 videos, which also will definitely get me canceled. See you live on Kick. Stay weird, fam.